Entering the 2010s, Japanese music artist Tomoko Kawase had made quite the name for herself. At the entirely same time, she was the vocalist for the rock band The Brilliant Green, a pop artist known as Tommy February6, and her own counterpart rock artist called Tommy Heavenly6. The Sixes are still silent. Back in 2009, her partnership with Death Star Records, a record label that would eventually go on to get owned by Sony, ended, and in its place, she and her projects were picked up by the Warner Music Group. However, as of 2011, the two personas, Tommy February6 and Tommy Heavenly6, had gone silent for a bit. While Heavenly had released a studio album 2 years prior, February had only released one song in 6 years. But eventually, a newly created February website teased her return. With these 5 words, it was official. Tommy February6, she's back! In commemoration of February's 10th anniversary in 2011, Tommy began planning a new album for her, slated to release in the summer. Wikipedia claims that the album itself was titled I'll Be Back, but this tidbit isn't on the Japanese page, and I trust the Japanese Wikipedia far more than the English one when it comes to Tommy stuff, because it's actually source. However, development of this album would get completely turned on its head after the 2011 Tohoku disaster, a day in March where Japan saw the most powerful earthquake it had ever experienced. The tragedy left Tommy depressed, severely demotivating her from making music. The release season of this February comeback came and went, but eventually Tommy felt like her life went back to normal. She was asked to make an ending song for the anime Bakuman, and on October 26th released it as her newest single, Monochrome Rainbow. I really like this song and really want to talk about it, but there isn't really much to say since I haven't entered my pretentious music critique arc yet. And for everybody's favorite tier list, I was thinking of putting this in C just because it's kinda bland, but the oversized sleeves won me over, it gets low B. And I guess Tommy really liked Monochrome Rainbow because she felt that it would be a waste to not include the song on an album. And from there she got an idea that I'm honestly surprised it took this long to get. What if she made an album featuring songs from both Tommy February and Tommy Heavenly? So a few months later, Tommy announced the album February and Heavenly, slated for release on February 29th, 2012. And so we waited. Well, not we, I was 3 years old at the time, so I was playing Angry Birds and watching Team Umizoomi. On February 9th, a few weeks before the album came out, a promotional music video was released of the song Hot Chocolate, which would be February's first track of the album and her first song in 3 whole years. February's return to form is interesting to say the least. This probably makes me sound like I hate this song, which I absolutely do not. I think it's amazing. But it has a much different style to everything else February has released. I don't know much about music in general, and especially nothing about the pop genre, but the whole tone of this song feels harder. I understand I'm probably completely incomprehensible, but you get the vibe, right? At the end of the day, all I'm saying is that this song feels like an evolution, like a Dratini evolving into a Dragonair. I promise this analogy will make sense, just give me some time. The music video also lacks any cheerleaders, which is a first and only for a February track. It's really just February being February by herself, and she also has an oversized lollipop. Oh, and Heavenly's there, I guess. B tier, S tier, A tier, and then here comes Heavenly with a steel S tier. Here's a relatively fun piece of trivia. In her room, February has cutouts of the 3 band members from I Kill My Heart, who you may remember are the members of the James Addiction. Tommy explains this as the James Addiction being an in-universe boy band that February is obsessed with, so Heavenly playing with them is a representation of February's own dreams to perform with the band. In the same interview, there's also the announcement that Tommy's creating a new February-adjacent idol group a la the Tommy Angels, about 2 fashion-loving, pop-singing schoolgirls doubling as spies. This is the only time this is ever mentioned. This is like just before Tommy started mentoring an idol duo called Amoyamo, but as far as I know, they have nothing to do with spies or schools. I just really wanted to bring them up because Flash is a really good album and they were taken from us far too early. Editor's note, this may be an early concept based off the music video for their song Flash, but I can't know for sure since the music video is seemingly locked behind an Apple Music subscription. But now I'm curious if there's anything else on the internet about whatever the hell this could be. I'm putting a poster up like, have you seen this premise? I need all of the world's greatest sleuths on the case. Now I guess I also have to address the elephant in the room. Yeah, this video quality is actually atrocious. Here's the thing, all the footage from 2009 and before comes from the official YouTube channel, which starting in 2020 began to release HD videos of the songs they own. Notice the word own. Just as a refresher, this channel, along with every currently active Tommy and Brilliant Green account, is owned by Sony since Death Star Records merged with it in 2014. And Sony only owns everything up to and including I Kill My Heart. I don't know jack about how record labels and their copyright work, so I'm not going to make a statement on that. But it means that the only music videos we have of anything from February and Heavenly onward are decade-old uploads from their new record label Warner Music's YouTube channel. And them being as old as they are means that they don't believe in 1080p. Either that or it's just a thing with Japanese record labels being anal about having their music online. There are a few HD versions uploaded by the wonderful February6, whose channel you should also check out, but apparently posting it to YouTube will immediately get it nuked, so I'm not taking any chances. You'll have to live with Patrick Soulja Boy quality. Anyways, after Hot Chocolate, February 29th finally came and February and Heavenly released. This album had two sides, one with 7 February songs and another with 7 Heavenly songs. This is the first album to feature music from both of Tommy's personas, and to me it's kind of like a reboot for these two. At least with February, this album is the start of a near permanent shift away from her edgier alcoholic aspects, but this time it isn't because the original premise has been sanitized, it's just that now these repressed, edgy elements are expressed through her relationship with Heavenly. I think, during Tommy's break from February, she started to reevaluate what the two sides dynamic should be. Starting with this album, she played around with Heavenly's lore so that she was less tangible. While pre-Warner Heavenly was more like February's evil twin going off and doing her own stuff, this iteration of Heavenly was February's Mr. Hyde, the other side of February that she hides from the public eye. Heavenly is constantly described as the devil inside February, keep that in your memory banks, a manifestation of all the negativity that she refuses to admit are a part of her. She acts as February's outlet for these emotions, and in turn February has a strange obsessive relationship with her. February has no intention of kicking Heavenly out. Instead, she says don't go anywhere and locks her in, writing in her diary, "I'm happy, like I have a twin sister, though I don't approve of her fashion, and I want to be friends with her forever, as long as she behaves well." This ritual, to keep her locked away, isn't an exorcism ritual, but a demon trapping ritual. Yeah, this is a little more complicated than just Peppy Popstar's true self takes a physical form, huh? Oh, you want me to talk about the songs, right? February's side of this album is near perfection. Most of the songs are 10 out of 10s, with only Goodnight My Sweet Day and I'm Your Angel being slightly lower. The new style she employs for these songs is so good and unlike anything she's made before. I find this style to be a more mature take on February's music. Most of her older songs were intentionally campy and over the top, and while obviously there's still a lot of high energy Sweetest Candy songs, they all feel a bit more grounded in reality. There's no Strawberry Cream Soda Pop equivalent or God Forbid Choose Me or Die. The closest we have is Goodnight My Sweet Day, which does get pretty goofy. I'm really torn between Gimme 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 and I Hold Your Night as my favorite song from this bundle. They're both really good in completely different ways. And for Heavenly's package, I'm not as big of a fan. For the most part, they feel more I Kill My Heart than Heavy Starry Heavenly. Monochrome Rainbow and I'm Your Devil are standouts, which isn't great since they were both packaged in her last single. In hindsight, this makes sense with how Heavenly being packaged in the album was a sudden decision, but still it's like I Hate Your Lies and Call Me Princess are decent and You Hurt Me has a really catchy chorus. It's just kinda disappointing how underbaked this side feels. I'm Your Devil is a notable track because it's a song that Heavenly actually made all the way back in 2010 for a vocational school, but yeah sure man, why not? In that case, you may be wondering why I didn't bring this up earlier. Well, this is such a good cliffhanger, but also this song ties directly into the lore dump I gave earlier, and does most of the heavy lifting for the album's theme, highlighting the stark contrast between the two personas, down to the name being an inverse of one of February's tracks, I'm Your Angel. The whole song is essentially Heavenly trying to coerce February into giving her control, talking about the latter being unhappy with who she is, yet refusing to own up to the negativity inside her. It's the most blatant introduction to Heavenly we get, 9 years after her debut. Also packaged on this album is the Halloween remix to the song. But the normal song is called the short version, which makes it sound like the Halloween remix came first. But all the Halloween remix does is add new parts, and this doesn't matter at all, but I'm treating it like it's a big deal. This version has its own music video, which follows the Halloween trend of featuring both Tommy personas and being 10 minutes and 31 seconds long. The stuff added to this song to make it quote unquote Halloween is strange, because it's like this Alice in Wonderland-esque opening, with Heavenly doing this monologue, and then in the middle of the actual song there's a random hip hop segment, and Heavenly does the monologue again, and then when the song ends she does it one more time just for good measure. February has these two outfits, with this one being B tier I guess and this one being another S tier. And Heavenly has two solid A tiers, and no, I'm not counting her putting on a tiger jacket as a separate outfit, and if you ask again I'm putting it in D tier. So all in all, February and Heavenly was a great return to form, taking the formula that Tommy created and twisting it into something new. If the Heavenly side was as good as February's side, I think I would call this the best album out of the two personas, but unfortunately half the package being not the greatest brings it down a bit. After February and Heavenly, there was a bit of dead air before the next, well, anything released. Tommy made an appearance in the music video for the Artist Hyde song Halloween Party, with both February and Heavenly appearing alongside each other and turning to cat monsters. And then about 10 days after that, on October 17, 2012, Heavenly released Halloween Addiction, an EP made in collaboration with the fashion brand X-Girl, featuring Tommy's previous two Halloween songs along with one new song called Never Ending Party Night. Okay, well Never Ending Party Night is two different songs, but they're presented as one unit so the song can hit that sexy 10 minute 31 seconds mark. I can respect that all of Heavenly's Halloween songs have this 10 minute 31 seconds runtime gimmick, but this one feels kinda cheap and most of the padding isn't even music. It seems Never Ending Party Night uses its free time for intermissions to tell what's framed as a campfire story, though there doesn't seem to be any way to listen to the entire thing without just straight up importing the CD from Japan, and I don't even have a CD player on standby, sorry for being broke. The standalone songs, February's Why Don't You Come With Me and Heavenly's Never Ending Party Night, are available separately from their 10-minute package, but trying to listen to them on YouTube is a strange hurdle. While February's song is neatly preserved, Heavenly's, which may remind you is the main deal, isn't. The only official upload of the song is its music video, but bafflingly shortened from 5 minutes to 1.5. Same with February's music video, that song is only 2 minutes long. There are unofficial ways to watch these in their full length, but nothing that your mother would approve of, if your mother was the guy that owns Bugs Bunny. It's actually insane how mishandled these two songs in particular are. Pretty much everything else is well preserved in one way or another, but Halloween Addiction gets the short end of the stick. It's a shame too, because both of these songs are really good, and they have super fun music videos too. Why Don't You Come With Me is super groovy, with February completely rocking her first Halloween song. Her synth pop works super well, creating the vibe of a dance party that you're trapped in against your will, and it taps the spot in my brain solely dedicated to evil jesters. Close enough, welcome back Marks. The James Addiction get a cameo. See, they're not dead, they're just reanimated. This song also marks our first introduction to Tommy's new set of cheerleaders, the Gantai girls. Gantai is eye patch in Japanese, and it doesn't take a sleuth to see why they're named that. These gals end up becoming the permanent cheerleaders for not just February but Heavenly too, though they ditch the eye patches to just be girls. It's almost weird to see February having a common group of cheerleaders, since I don't think there's been a single time where a cheerleader from a music video shows up in another one. Okay, well, I'm mega face blind, so there's a chance one or two of these cheerleaders have reoccurred, but never a whole set. And obviously Heavenly having her own group of cheerleaders is a departure from the norm, but it supports my earlier statement that Heavenly has started to become more of a reflection of her counterpart. That aside, the outfit is another S tier, so her fashion sense is just getting better and better. Heavenly's Never Ending Party Night is a bit inferior, specifically a Halloween song, but dear lord is it a banging Heavenly song. If we continued that endless dance party analogy from earlier, this song is like the host of the party realizes that everybody wants to leave and starts throwing a murderous fit. The production value for this one is higher, with Tommy, the Gantai girls, and I'm gonna hold my tongue on these guys just in case my stupidity kicks back in, performing in the stupid mansion. In the spooky mansion, I'm sorry. I like you mansion. Oh yeah, for this EP, there's this reoccurring graphic of a Tommy themed cow with unreasonably blonde hair. That's really all I can say in relation to the music video, I'm sorry. I feel like this album should have just been a single, because Tommy's way of making the package seem bigger than it was to just chop all the individual parts of the songs to their own quote-unquote tracks, so it's a 21 track album that has 4 songs in total. God never intended for a Lollipop Candy Bad Girl to be split into 8 different segments. Well, actually, I don't know. She made the song after all. Halloween Addiction was the last thing released in 2012, and 2013 would end up being Tommy's last big year as a music artist, but also her biggest year in terms of being a music artist. 2013 was when Tommy celebrated her 15-year anniversary since her musical debut back in September of 1997. Yeah, the math doesn't exactly add up, but I don't want to rob her of the celebration. 2013 was the year of Luigi and also the year of Tommy, and only one of them had a good year. To celebrate 15 years of Tommy, she was going to release one album for each of her main projects, that being The Brilliant Green, Tommy February, and Tommy Heavenly, in a year's time. The first thing released was on February's 14th anniversary, Tommy's birthday, being the single Be My Valentine Lovely Valentine's Day. This was February's first physical single in 8 whole years, since Hot Chocolate was just a promotional music video. It's nice to see February back to her regularly scheduled programming, but the single doesn't have a music video or anything, which is a shame. Be My Valentine tells a sugary sweet tale about February getting ready to confess her love to her crush, after hearing that he recently got a girlfriend. Fucking Tommy Heavenly6 on the scene, bro. The B-side for this single is a cover of I Know Hoshi, an old song by The Brilliant Green. It's funny to see Tommy covering herself, but I guess it leads well to this being part of a giant celebration of her legacy. The other 2 things to come out of 2013 would be a lot bigger. 2 albums, one for February and one for Heavenly. Tommy Candy Shop Sugar Me came first, releasing on June 12, 2013. This was February's first non-compilation and non-conjoined by the hip album in 9 whole years, so it's a pretty big occasion, and Tommy wanted this one to be particularly special, so she decided to do something that went against everything she stood for. She caught up with the times. Where February's prior songs channeled the energy of Europop from the 80s and 90s, the music of Tommy Candy Shop Sugar Me looked through a modern lens and was almost entirely EDM, with a bunch of songs sung solely in English. It's like when your Dragonair evolves into a Dragonite. It's not really what you wanted, but give it some time to burn and you realize it's awesome. I owe this album a sincere apology. In my initial video, I brought it up in passing and I only had this to say about it. It's actually surprising how generic it is. Once again, good album, but everything besides the last 2 songs are like samey EDM tracks that are nothing like Tommy's other work. I've been swallowing one nail for every view the video got to atone for this. I used to look at this album through the lens of it being the very last February album released. A bit of a spoiler, but you probably know that already. And so felt disappointed that everything ended on such a different, and in my eyes more generic tone. But Tommy never planned for this to be her last album, that's just the way it went. and the story behind the album very clearly paints that it wasn't lazy or hastily cobbled together. For this album, Tommy wanted to recapture an aspect of February that she thought the character had lost in her 12 years of existence. Instead of spelling it out directly, let me just put the clip of her blowing a cheerleader's head off on screen. Tommy says that after Heavenly came into play, she didn't really have anything she wanted to express with February, which explains why she went dormant for so long. I didn't mention this before, but there was an old interview where she talked partly about why Heavenly was taking priority over February. The only translation I can find is kinda iffy, but you can get the gist from it. When February first came to fruition, she was something new and strange, a revival of this old, cheesy type of music through this comedic, edgy persona. But Tommy felt that, as she went on, February started to lose the unusual charm that made her so novel, and she didn't see much of herself in February anymore. It seems that the last album's new take on February, now more connected with and antagonized by her other side, was just what Tommy needed to make February feel personal again, and she wanted to combine how she feels about February now with what she originally conveyed, and that's what we got in Candy Shop. This album represents a middle state between February and Heavenly. February is succumbing to her rising inner frustration, so most of the songs carry a very Heavenly sentimentality, while still embodying February's sugary sweetness. The songs Angel, Fade, and Fairy Dust are the album's quote-unquote main tracks because they embody this concept the most, and are done in solely English. Apparently, the primarily English lyrics of this album were done to give February's moments of emotionality a clear separation from Heavenly's. February expresses her feelings in English while Heavenly does it in Japanese. I think that's really clever given February's origin of parodying specifically Western pop, and in the lens of a Japanese artist creates the contrast of Heavenly stating her feelings up front, while February conceals them in another language. And on the whole primarily sung in English thing, it also makes sense with how the songs sung in Japanese are much more lighthearted and straightforwardly cutesy. And then there's Spacey Cowgirl. Spacey Cowgirl is such a funny song, dude. It's so goofy. It reminds me of Hey Bad Boy or Choose Me or Die, and being so unapologetically unserious and ridiculous that it's always a joy to listen to. Oh yeah, all the EDM in this album is just cause Okuda felt like making dance music. There's no deeper meaning to it. I'm pretty sure he just gave Tommy some demos and she was like, yeah, I guess I'm doing this now. The album is set in the Tommy Candy Shop, a diner meant to represent the escapism of surrounding yourself with sweet things to drown out your turmoil. The Gantai girls are back with much sweeter outfits, and now we have the Tastic Boys. Who the hell are these guys? It's like Tommy realized that instead of spending time and money on producing idol groups that die in months, if they're lucky, she can just get a group of people, give them some title, and boom, another Twitter account created. These guys don't really contribute anything other than maybe be aliens in disguise or something, but the Tastic Boys do exist and they are coming for you. You may notice I've been kinda glossing over this album's 2 music videos. That's just cause they don't really have too much going for them, despite having my favorite Tommy outfit. Whoa, was there an S+ tier? While I don't think Tommy Candy Shop Sugar Me is particularly an upgrade from her prior works, I think it stands super well on its own and is nowhere near as generic as it made it out to be. Album kinda peaks with the first 4 songs though. Now February had gotten her anniversary album and so had the Brilliant Green, so there was only one more project that needed a celebration. But after Candy Shop, Tommy fell into a deep slump. After all the work on February's album, she still really wanted to make a full dance album, but Heavenly had to take precedent. Tommy felt that in her current mindset she couldn't commit to Heavenly's worldview, and went into a depressive slump for a while, and so this album's release date had to be pushed back, not meeting the Halloween release date that was intended. What got her back into a Heavenly mood was performing at Halloween Party 2013, an event hosted by the band Vamps, so now she was back on track and ready to work on Heavenly's part of this anniversary project. And 6 months after February's album, on November 27, 2013, Tommy Ice Cream Heaven Forever released. The album, which I'm very glad isn't another gothic melting ice cream darkness nightmare situation where it's absolutely foul to say, explores Heavenly's thoughts on being forced into suppression by February's inability to accept her. She becomes resentful and wants to freeze February's world over and take it as her own. Before the album's release, she released a single for the song Ruby Eyes, which is the title track for the drama Kyoko Ramen. That's right, a proper single in the year of our Lord 2013. This one's music video introduces us to Heavenly's new view of the world. This is a little more than sitting in a limo and using a broken blender. Despite February's big changes, Heavenly stuck pretty close to her original concept. The only thing that really changed is the context that she's presented in. During Heavenly's pre-2010 career, she kinda evolved into someone completely divorced from February. While the latter was partying with a plush Pikachu for a Pokemon promotion, Heavenly was doing this and that and not doing this. But now her relationship with February is super closely tied to her identity. February locks her away, making her spiteful and frustrated of her other half's commitment to the facade, and presenting a desperation to express herself. This deeper connection with February also means her style shifted to make a contrast. Heavenly's world is a mad blend of spooky Halloweeny elements and sugary sweets. There's also what may be a twisted version of the Tommy Candy Shop, with the Gantai girls also being here in clown costumes. The explanation Tommy gives is that whenever Heavenly is feeling lonely, she will call people over and lock them in her world, and they all end up being monster adjacent, I guess. There are these ghost versions of February and Heavenly who are based on Obake-chan, the mascot of the jewelry company Q-Pot. At the same time of this album's release, she did a collaboration with them, and damn, these are really cute. Too bad they're over a decade old, not being sold anymore. And if you want one, you have to pay an actual king salary for it. The Jameses are back, but the Tastic Boys are nowhere to be seen, which further raises the question of who the hell the Tastic Boys are. There's also a music video for the song Can You Hear Me, also from the album, continuing this world that Ruby Ass creates, but this one's more like Gantai Girls' video than it is Tommy's, which gives me the perfect opportunity to ramble. It's really cool to see a permanent group of cheerleaders that perfectly match Tommy's style to a T. And the funny thing about the previous cheerleaders were, they weren't bad, but they were definitely seen as little more than background props to push February's world. Obligatory cheerleader head exploding clip, and these gals are very good at their job. Apparently they're all like actual high schoolers too, so they're like the Tommy Angels with more going for them, such as a longer shelf life than 3 months. These two are the only songs that got a music video, unless you want to count the very brief intermission tracks with one appearing in Ruby Ice's video. And since they have very similar aesthetics, high A tier, S tier, A tier, B tier, and 2 low B tiers on the grounds that I can barely even make them out. Every song in this album is really good. If Heavenly's debut album didn't exist, this would be the one with the most consistently solid tracks. Let Me Scream, Lovin' You, and I Want Your Blood are super catchy. Forever and Anywhere is the most Sleeping Beauty in Hell song I've ever heard. And Milk Tea made me go woo ha hoo ba wa, not knowing the song was supposed to be sad. There's another cover of a Brilliant Green song, this one being Ash Like Snow, the opening track for Gundam 00. And the final track is Ice Cream Heaven Forever. Like this album name! And it's the closest thing Tommy's got to her own villain song, it's awesome. Tommy Ice Cream Heaven Forever isn't really close to being as unique as Candy Shop Sugar Me, but it's still a very solid album with some fun ideas. But it's also the last album Tommy would release. There was one more mini album, being Tommy's Halloween Fairy Tale in 2015. You can't find this thing anywhere officially, but once again Hinata Conan jumps to the rescue. This is an actual mini album this time. It breaks the 1031 streak of the other Halloween releases, but it's longer and consists of multiple actual songs, so I'm glad she did that. There's no music videos or anything, unfortunately. It seems like time has swept this one under the rug. My favorite is the Sparkling Candyman because it's February singing about how awesome the titular Sparkling Candyman is, while Mr. James JJ DeBarato goes, "Do not eat his candy or you will die. Do not look at his fireworks or you will die. Do not give him any sort of attention or you will die." And then you die and he's like, "Whoops, I tried to warn you." And all the other songs are pretty good too. I really like Frozen Raspberry Snow, which is a beautiful Christmas track just thrown at the end. And it's so Christmas that Santa Claus himself has to make a cameo to close out the album. I think the reason this album is so hard to access is because it was released under a new record label, Tommy's own. Welcome to the House of Tommy, open whenever she feels like it. So this is something. I guess it should be expected that Tommy would want to have total freedom on the stuff she does. If I was her manager, I would probably quit after the 3rd time she said she was going to make a Halloween song with a 10-minute 31-second length. So now with the House of Tommy open, she has the freedom to do anything. Except fund a new album. Apparently that new dance album I mentioned earlier was close to being done, but there were issues in actually producing it. It seems that immediately after Tommy broke away from her record label, the expensiveness of music production at her scale kinda hit her in the gut. She and Akuda were big fans of the analog type of music production, and were going to stick with it even if digital production would be way cheaper, but they clearly weren't making enough money to comfortably stick to that. Now obviously I don't know jack about how record labels work, so I don't know if she broke away from Warner willingly or if they just dropped her, but I can imagine that with Warner kinda doing fuck all to actually promote her, Tommy thought it'd be better to stop tangling herself in corporate affairs, but clearly she hasn't made enough money to single-handedly fund her endeavors, so her music career kinda hit a brick wall. In the meantime, Tommy embraced her comfortable life and probably just started checking off her bucket list. She vlogged about her life, she made streams, she had a Halloween event on this now defunct app, and, probably most important to her, she started a clothing line. While documentation on this is spotty and all I really have to go off of is the Wayback Machine and way too many Twitter and blog posts to scroll through, but I'm pretty sure she was collaborating with fashion brands to sell clothes in the House of Tommy. So, releases from either persona slowed down to a crawl. In 2017, she released the single Kitty Ninja as a download if you were subscribed to her fan club. Until very recently, the song was essentially lost media. There were no full uploads of it anywhere, just tiny bits and pieces scattered among YouTube. So everybody give a warm thank you to Eric Airline for publicly archiving the song a few months ago. There was nothing for another year, when Tommy released the dual singles Cupcake Angels for February and Ice Cream Devils for Heavenly. And after this, she just stuck to her typical cycle of blogging, streaming, and selling clothes, until she suddenly vanished in the new year of 2023. Her last tweet was wishing everyone a happy new year, and then she went radio silent everywhere. Now, when I first got to this point in the Tommy rabbit hole nearly a year ago, I was pretty baffled. She seemed so social and ambitious, and so I just didn't get why she just disappeared. Now, it's quite obvious. Tommy always talks about herself as being rather neurotic, with a bad event getting her down for long periods of time. I can imagine having an album that's practically ready to go, but not having an opportunity to release it for like 6 years is pretty frustrating, and being amidst a global pandemic definitely didn't help at all. Tommy definitely just wanted to get away from all the negativity and focus on her own life with her own husband and her own 6 cats. I know I made this exact joke in the first video, but I think it bears repeating. She didn't completely write off making music, rather I think she just stopped searching for an opportunity. So Tommy herself turned off her spotlight and just took some time for herself. And then a Y2K obsessed teenager on TikTok shone a flashlight on her, and the rest is history. So yeah, the only reason I know of her existence. In 2020, Sony Music, which had absorbed Tommy's old record label Death Star Records, decided to take her now abandoned YouTube channel, along with one for the Brilliant Green, and filled them with HD re-uploads of the music videos made under them, which is pretty cool. It means that the first 2 parts don't have footage bit crushed into oblivion. However, keep in mind that they only own everything made when Tommy was still contracted under them, which is all her popular stuff, but completely excludes all the Warner Music stuff. In other words, everything I talked about in this part. But I'm not going to get sidetracked there because that's not the topic right now. In 2025, Tommy February6 got a sudden resurgence in popularity due to Paradise Kiss fans sharing around Lonely and Gorgeous, which if you forgot was the song she made as its theme song. So now a huge wave of young fans who probably weren't even born when February debuted, "He's talking about me," were now obsessing over her. He's talking about. So that's where we are now. Sony picked up on Tommy's popularity and fired on all cylinders that didn't have acknowledged anything she made past 2009 written on them in my blood. Last November, they held an event that rescreened a bunch of Tommy's old concerts to a large audience, and earlier they hosted a remix competition for Lonely and Gorgeous, posting the winning song under Tommy's name. Which reminds me that to announce that song's release, they claimed that Tommy herself had an announcement, which got me way too excited on a Friday in September. "I'm Tommy February6 and this is my announcement." I'm glad that Tommy's getting some love in the present day, with Sony doing all this stuff, but I can't help but feel bitter about this whole arrangement. Like, we all know this is a fad, right? Is that shocking to anyone? An inactive artist marketed solely through one song by a company that can only legally acknowledge half of her discography. Are you guys going to round one for the Tommy February card? In the end though, what's happening is good. We got HD re-releases of most of her music videos, vinyl re-releases of her albums, and this filter looks so awful that it loops back around to being really funny. Now you may be wondering where Tommy herself fits into all this. Short version? She doesn't really. Long version? She doesn't really, and I don't think she cares. There have been 2 interviews with Shunsaku Okuda following Tommy's explosion online, where he mentions how surprised he is that the music he's produced got so popular decades after its heyday. Not really much mention of Tommy herself, which strikes me as odd. I've seen a lot of people clamoring for Tommy to come back, and while it would indeed be amazing to see new Tommy songs, I think having this laser focus on the earlier half of her music would either result in a lot of disappointment of how she loves to just switch up her style on a whim, or it's going to force Tommy into a small bubble of what people expect to hear from her. But hey, if the house of Tommy ever opens its doors again, I'll be there for the grand reopening. Well, that was a pretty long spiel. I've wanted to do this pretty much since I posted my initial Tommy video. I may have only known of Tommy's existence for like 8 months. 8 months? Well, more like 11. Jeez, I've had this video cooking for so long. But the dual worlds that she created have had such a profound impact on my life. February's saturating worldview mixed with Heavenly's shameless expression of her emotions have helped me come to terms with a lot of aspects of my identity that I'd been in a slump about for a long while. I hope I did a good enough job of getting everything together. So much of Tommy's exploits have already become lost to time, and of course the language barrier made everything a lot harder to put together. And now, after nearly like 7 months in the making, I'm happy to finally conclude the complete history of Tommy February6 and Tommy Heavenly6.